The positioning that Terra Queens has to watch for. They're still up ahead, 3,600 gold, and Yippee far behind has already 2 deaths. And like you said, in Skypiercer, it might not be worth it at this point.
Might not be worth it indeed. I mean, it's still going to be a core item for the Granger. Here comes the joy. I think this is unwise. Yeah, Sev decides she is not going to challenge that. I think that Onic needs to be not the team that starts the fight. They gotta bait Terra Queens into them instead.
You know, we have a high win rate with the Farsa Gata combo that a lot of teams are actually starting to pick up. But then Terra Queens are actually tearing Onic apart, taking control of the map. The only issue is, right now, Sakoshi's left all alone. She doesn't know where the rest of Onic is. They're making a beeline for it. They see where she is. They're going to take down that team.
Hi, Katase. Maaf guys.
I think it's pretty smart though to play it safe for now. Sakoshi knows that the rest of her team is going for that top tier 2.
Sorry for the late stream, bro.
No need to try and challenge Sev.
Berbalik anjay gua. Mantap banget guys di jalan. Gelo.
Tower in exchange. The goal difference between Yippee and Sakoshi slowly getting higher and higher, and playing Rina as well.
Oh, they're gonna pull back. Who will survive? Not survive. The wrath of
Bentar ya.
Onic goes down yet again. Terra Queen's still up ahead, and like you said, Sakoshi's damage starting to hurt, starting to show. 1.7 goal lead. Living with the strike. That's a huge threat. Mark Rui is on.
Sambil makan ya guys, gila.
Trying to target onto that Zev. A little bit too close to the sun. This kamikaze gone wrong as Terra Queens starting their rampage yet again.
It still ends up being pretty good for Terra Queens. They lose playing Rina, but they get Sev as well as Livy. These are way more.
Menang Terror Queen ya.
Terra Queens are trading bodies incredibly well. Sakoshi gonna get that Lord, and Onic suddenly playing on the back foot.
Got their airstrike trying to take down Ku. Down she goes. Rui Lin doesn't want to push the situation. They want to take down that T1 instead. And virtually, Terra Queen's T1 is left untouched. They got the Lord. They got the T1. The map is wide open. It's looking hella blue.
Looking at the itemization right now, we could see a heavy focus towards physical defense on the side of Onic, and T-Cuirasses and Blade Armors are being prioritized, since Onic knows Sakoshi is already becoming a problem very, very early on. It does look like Luna Lin decided to go for the Skypiercer build on that Zeusin as well, so Terra Queens wants to continue playing for brawls.
Living with the further airstrike, but you know, is there any silver lining for Onic? All I can see is, yeah, play defensively, play the high ground. You have the further airstrike clear things out. Zev tries to clear out that bottom side. Lord marching down the top
Susah
side.
sih.
Again, I think Onic really just needs to play.
It's a 1v1, but they're clearing out that minions. Zev just waiting for the right call. Won't be able to get it, but on the top side, they're starting a full-out brawl. Lord already charged in, takes down the T3 down to less than half. It's Terra Queens again zoning everyone out of the way. Sakoshi just purely on that Bennett's rage. Nevalera starting to fall. She goes down. Her arena will pick up that kill. Ku's down too deep, and she will fall in the hands of Yippee.
Ini tuh kalah apa? Tuh kalah grafik.
More defensively and disciplined if they want to clear things out.
But it still ends up being 1-for-1. Terra Queens nearly takes down the top inhibitor, does take down the mid tier too. It's still actually good for them. This is a style of gameplay that is using their own heroes, their own players as resources in order to gain more gold and presence on the map. And it is actually working. Onic trying to play a slower game, a more controlled approach, and they are getting absolutely messed up.
Katarina getting messed up by Yippee. Is sent to the graveyard. Is shot down. Yippee able to get that flicker out safe. Bennett's rage will deal a huge chunk of damage.
Aduh.
Sandstorm onto Luna Lin, able to get out safe as well with Crimson Beacon. As Terra Queens playing a little bit more defensively, Arena throwing her body, trying to get those kills. Do you think
Susah ya kayaknya nih. Kalah draft gak sih atau gimana?
their power spike?
Yes, but at the same time, I think there is a bit of controlled chaos in the way that Terra Queens plays. Onic needs to take advantage of that. They actually managed to pick off Ku without trading anyone in that case, because Terra Queens are the type of team that want to force things to happen. So just play it slow.
Onic diving again. Luna Lin will get one more hit. Gets taken out by Livy on the backside. Nevalera taking a huge chunk of damage. Gets slain by Sakoshi. Good AOG goes wide. Down into the back line. Zev as well diving deep in.
Aktif di stream ya gimana guys? Kita mendukung Onic sekaligus itu kerjaan guys.
Will run back safe, and it's a 2-for-2 yet again.
Alright. Still an even trade, but at the very least in this case, Onic was the one to take initiative. Still not the cleanest. The fight was a little bit split up, But Rui ended up in a really awkward position. Ku needs to be a little bit more careful with the way that she actually starts these initiations. Playing Rina as well. Terra Queens doesn't have a very obvious big AoE teamfight ultimate that's used as the go green light for Terra Queens, which means they have to be smarter.
Skill Livy with a sliver and survives, barely making it out. Ku trying to source for more information where Yippee is, and now
Jujur hampir mati tuh itu.
getting that punish. You came a little bit too close as Livy, Luna Lin able to pull back Navalera, but that is just tickling Onic just a little bit as Terra Queens make a beeline towards that Lord. You want to take that down before Zev gets into position.
You could say that the Farsa was living on a prayer in that situation. I'm honestly surprised that that was enough damage to nearly take her out, but here we go
Oh,
again.
Navalera again with a raging sandstorm, but it's not enough.
Aduh.
Sakoshi from backline just gunning everyone down. Zev with the homing ballistic missile trying to take that Luna Lin, but just not enough damage. Rina left alive. Terra Queens, 2 members fall. It's a 2 for 2 once again. It's Terra Queens.
Aduh.
They still have Rui. Onic still has Zev. Zev has the retribution.
You can see Onic starting to adapt a little bit to the chaos of the Terror Queens. While the trades ended up being in their favor most of the time earlier on, we can see they're starting to favor a bit more on Onic. The net worth difference is reducing. Sakoshi being picked off there was also very
Berat gak sih ini game?
unideal because Terror Queens have been relying on this Beatrix to be the main source of damage output. They gotta start taking a step back. The goal now needs to be protecting their backline.
The bottom side wave already pushing in. Livy with the fair airstrike trying to zone everyone out. Rui tries to get in with that lore, trying to get another steal, but he's down low.
Aduh.
Rui gets it though with the retribution. He goes down. What is the work he said? Sacrifice. Rui actually gets out save in the nick of time. It's cool.
Push atas juga tuh, wah. Tapi leader yang sayang men.
Terror Queens continues
Dapat
to
mid,
show
oke.
that they are the dark force of
Oke,
the
nice.
competition.
But Onic cycling through.
Yeah.
They want to try to push this.
Onic, they tried to stop Rui from getting on top of the Lord, and somehow the Hayabusa steals it away anyway. But Onic are still able to get a good number of structures thanks to that push. Another feathered airstrike. We can see that Livy starting to hurt quite a bit.
Oh, they see where Rui is though. Your Shadow Kill, Winter Crown can negate that damage. No crucial resource. Zap wants to try to chase him down. Will do it. Talk about that nerf on the start of the side. That is the additional damage that you need.
That Winter Crown, very specifically purchased in this case. Sev knew exactly what Rui would try to do in those particular situations, and that really made all the difference, because otherwise Rui would have actually gotten that 1v1 kill. Onic, after trying to claim control of the game for the past 5 minutes, finally in control.
Arena will take a huge chunk of damage, but she'll be fine and dandy. Onic has her eyes set on that purple buff. They'll take all the resources that Terra Queens have
Bisa ini.
left behind from
Tapi susah.
massive 6,000 gold.
Harus
down
disiplin banget
to
mereka.
100 is Onic clawing their way back up in this game.
And that's the scary thing, right? I do feel like Onic still has better late game scaling, and it's even better in the case that Terra Queens are just throwing themselves at them. It worked pretty well in the early to mid game when they had a gold advantage, but they no longer have that. It's a very much a 50-50, and Onic has more DPS.
Starting things off with Ku's taunt, but he took up that orange buck and pulled back for airstrike, deal a lot of damage. She has that immortality again popped up as well. Has to go in all kamikaze mode. Navalera with raging sandstorm miss all that targets, but Ku is deep into enemy territory. Navalera will fall by the hands of Luna Lin.
Offset
Onic
talaga.
again throwing and sacrificing that Khalid. 2, 6, and 9 for this Khalid, and we talked about how well her power spikes were, and now in the mid to late game, what is the play for Navalera?
But the play just don't do what you just saw earlier. Terra Queens actually played that fight exactly the way they needed to. They took a step back, they slowed it down, they saw that Onic wanted to engage on them, so they back it off. They zone themselves out of the feathered airstrike, slowly isolate them. Ku is able to come in at a later timing, which means that not all 5 members of Onic are able to focus their damage onto her, and that means she's able to actually buy enough space.
Battlefield's real quiet now. Terra Queens don't want to show themselves too much, as do Onic.
They do not want to necessarily reveal themselves right now. Control over the top half of the map is the goal.
5 seconds till Lord spawns up. Terra Queens already in position.
Position to hold over the Lord right now. Onic gonna be coming over from the bottom
That's
side.
inside.
Navilera, the first one to show themselves in front of Ku. Oh,
Zap goes down, Hunarina gets caught out. Sakoshi taking a huge chunk of damage. Hunarina with the rinse crown will save her just in the nick of time for the fair strike. She's gonna flicker out of the way. AOG too late. The Terra Queens, they take down Navilera once again. And Terra Queens had that advantage over the Lord.
that was beautiful control. Excellently played actually by the
Navileranya keculik mulu men.
spacing themselves out. Yes, a little bit more aggressive than necessary, but now Onic is at a man disadvantage and Terra Queens can make use of that. Ooh, Rui trying to go for Zev, but that's
It's a
bit
personal
dangerous.
vendetta. But what's not a personal vendetta is Livin already using a crucial resource. No more feather airstrikes. Terra Queens will get started on this Lord. They might be able to blitz this down, but Rui doesn't have the retribution. Zap does though.
And Zev going to have the slight advantage here. So even though Terra Queens have the numerical lead, they do not have the most important tool for actually taking the Lord down. Luckily for them, the macro on the map is actually favoring them. They've been able to get the lanes pushing up on their health. So that means Onic is going to eventually have to split off some members to deal with that.
We've come to a point where the game is still fairly even. Terra Queen's just a little bit up on top in terms of economy. You're starting to pull onto that Lord as Onic getting into position. They need more information. Sakoshi huge bunch of damage. Zev is right on that. Captain Immortality down goes Arena. Gets out safe, but not for long. And she goes down as well. Moving on the back line, trying to get on
Aduh.
all down low, but they still lost 3 members. Terra Queens, they're losing it. Ku trying to run away. I think she can. She'll be fine and dandy. She's eating all of that damage as Onic trying to quickly blitz down this Lord.
Terra Queens have been the ones setting the tempo in the team fights thus far, but Onic finally found the target that they were looking for. A surgical incision into the heart of the Terra Queens to find Sakoshi. And once that Beatrix was gone, there was no longer anything to worry about. I feel like Terra Queens needed to back it up the moment that the Beatrix was already vulnerable. They needed to make a call. It is very unlikely they're going to be able to win the fight afterwards. And because they still tried to commit to it, Rui went down as well.
T2 mid already fell. Bottom side T2 will get dealt with by Zev as the Lord marching down the top side. Terra Queens doesn't really have that high ground advantage. The only one is Sakoshi, but Onic has a very high committal, very high suicide.
Bisa pelan-pelan guys, sumpah.
They throw their bodies once again. This might be a turnaround for Terra Queens.
The feathered airstrike does so much damage. Top inhibitor will fall. Onic trying to muscle their way in.
Bandit's Rage already committed. Rui on the back line. That's not a lot of damage, and Onic would just eat everything up. Down goes.
Navilera offset, cok.
And they are targeting.
Kalau kata gue,
Down goes Funk as Onic secures that throne over Terra Queens. Game number 1 goes over to the Indonesian.
masih aman ya, masih aman guys, masih aman.
Right there, baby. That's what Onic was targeting the entire time. They knew that taking it slow, they knew that trying to play it safe in this situation may be risky considering the way Terra Queens have been playing throughout the entire game. So they're not going to give them that chance. This is the best opportunity they could have found with all 5 members still standing, multiple resources available. The crystal is the only target they need to target. And that's exactly what they did.
If you had one opportunity, one shot, would you capture it? Would you let it slip? I think Onic really clawed their way back up. I mean, playing on the back foot is not easy. Terra Queens had control of the entire game, but micro, technically, Onic had such a great performance. We're going to look at the replays again real quick, but man, that turnaround from Onic was just chef's kiss.
Yeah, I do feel like this is one of the examples of a team showing how to adapt in the middle of the game itself. It's something that has been lacking in a lot of the other teams that had to struggle their way up from the lower bracket. The ability to figure out what needs to change in the way we approach this lineup in the middle of the land of dawn.
In the middle of night, in my dreams. Berarti satu skor lagi guys kita perlunya. Halo, hai Anfa.
Slowly but surely built up the momentum they needed to eventually push their way into the base.
Gue baru balik KW, langsung live man.
What did you think about game 1?
It was an impressive showing from Terra Queens, especially the first 3 quarters of this game. they were in control,
Gila
yes,
sih.
but I think it was a very
Malam si
bad
Hai
matchup.
lakte ko
They
akan
were
welcome.
constantly attacking and barraging Onic Pertiwi.
Thank
where
you
it
stranger
mattered,
for the gift. Kok nggak ada suaranya
but
sekarang
when
ya
the
anjir?
punches came, it felt like they had a glass jaw. What is a solid right hand or an uppercut when you can't protect yourself? And that's the problem here. Again, I alluded to this before the game even began. How is Sakoshi gonna step up to Yippee? Yippee, yes, struggled
si
a little
Ayang.
bit. There was a kill or two onto Yippee, but it was so much easier for Onic to find Sakoshi. And Sakoshi, she just, what was she on? She was on a Beatrix, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Beatrix has a dash, a roll, if you will, and then the Beatrix can actually rock Renner. She could have just stayed maybe in a bush away, a few units away from where the fight was actually happening, but especially
Soundtrack your game.
when she did not have her flicker.
Pirat
she
gak
was
sih
still
gua
in the
ini?
midst of fights, and I'm like, I saw the AOG, I'm like, oh, this is it, it's over, it's over. That's the
Yeah.
second to the last fight.
Yeah.
And they lost her. And now the game got flipped on its head. Again, I'd hate to point fingers here. I hate to put blame, but Sakoshi needs to protect herself even more because that is where a good chunk of her power lies, especially with this kind of draft.
I have to add on to that point. Like, we see a lot of Beatrixes in the women's league, especially in this MWI, that is only using Bennett or in the B route, but there's so many other weapons, so many other ways and layers to play this that we don't really see from Beatrix players, especially from Sakoshi, having a winning lane, having that gold advantage, and to a point it was like 3,000 gold, that's an item and a half over this Granger.
Yeah, the thing is though, there's a reason why most players go Bennett and maybe Root. They're the most consistent. They're gonna be the most effective once you get into the late game, and they both do AoE damage, so you can wave clear, you can team fight. It's very solid. I agree with Leo that Sakoshi needed to hide in
Tipis sih sebenarnya menurut gua nih
The
menangnya
thing
juga.
that Terra Queens actually needed to change because their way of playing, their controlled chaos, is actually very practiced. You can see they're very good at advancing the fight slowly while picking off members one by just diving in and causing Onic to scatter. But Onic did not bite onto that bait. The longer the game went, the more they realized if we just find the Beatrix, we win the fight automatically.
And that happened very often. Ku dying should be a part of protecting Sakoshi. Her deaths and her life should be worth more than Sakoshi's when it comes down to it. Like, if I die, that means you live and you kill too. That is the exchange. But so far, it's been 1-for-1. And Onic wins that trade out if this continues. And I'm looking at their KDAs, I'm looking at their stats. Zev is amazing, 10-3 and 10. She punished Rui's selfish plays where she tried to get the solo kill. Again, key there would be that winner crown. But I'm also looking at Yippee. Yippee with the recovery of a lifetime. Again, this all-star goal.
Tipis sih, menurut gua nih Terra Queen jago juga
Even
guys.
after this game, even after this hard-fought game, playing from the back for a majority of the, how long was it? 18 minutes, 17 minute game?
7 to 18
Yep.
minutes, yeah.
She still deserves to be on top of the food
Gila,
chain.
masih
She is
Yippee kah?
number one across all MWI competitors. She beat out Sakoshi, KDA, GPM, DPM, but kill participation though, again, you're just slicing threads here. It's a small difference. Maybe Sakoshi can afford to put that down to 40%. Because that's only when it matters, when she finally gets the kill, or maybe even just pushing turrets.
Yeah, honestly, I think that one stat actually tells the entire story because both teams have an assassin whose main goal is to find the opposing gold laner. Zev did a great job of locating Sakoshi a lot of the time, but you notice Rui never really could jump on Yippee because the Granger was never really vulnerable in the fights. It's always standing with the team or hiding in a bush first and then joining later.
And most times she
Terra
just
Queen
and she goes
tim
forward.
kuda hitam di MWI sekarang, iya kah?
It's a losing battle. There were so many times.
Tapi menurut gua juga nih Onic menangnya menang hoki tipis soalnya. Sama-sama kuat tadi. Gila, man.
Oh, you walk up to me moment. That happened once, and she regretted that. And things were never the same.
Honestly, though, to that point, I just
Emang kuda hitam bukannya Onic ya?
because in the early game, I was questioning a lot of the rating sandstorms, and I know like Klee kind of falls off in the mid to late game, but she found that mark onto Sakoshi, just enabled Zev to get a free entry into that gold lane and into that back line so that you can take the damage dealer down, and Yippee can just go ham and gung-ho down the line.
It's additional ways to catch Sakoshi. If not, at least compromise her spacing. The fact that Lunalin is playing on a Zushin does not help the situation. She's much better on the offense, and when they were closing in on their base, when they were inside defending, you can see that Luna was really struggling. Again, I do believe her build was the usual way to build a Zushin, and that's not very good on the back foot. Our match MVP brought to us by Sony is none other than Yippee. Look at that, fully built up all the way. She even sold her boots. Like, she just wanted to get this done.
And we have to remember, right, that Yippee was losing.
Gila dia dari kemarin tuh MVP apa loh? Yang apa? MVP mulu sih Yippee, gacor betul.
By the time Yippee only had Hunter Strike and Sky Piercer, there's a very big difference in the price of those items overall. So she was able to make up that difference thanks to very smart positioning, very good adjustments from the entire squad of Onic.
And patience. I think a huge part of Onic Pertiwi's comeback is patience. That is a trademark of any successful Southeast Asian MLBB team. I'm even looking at the men's division. They know how to play on the defense. They know how to sit back, relax, play underneath their turrets, and know when we're not the beatdown and when to clap back. That is exactly what Onic did here to reclaim the game away from the Terra Queens.
Yeah, I gotta say, a lot of gold laners actually don't shine in the lane. Yes, Yippee had a tough time against Sikoshi on a one-to-one kind of situation, but when it comes down to the mid to late game team fights, when Yippee was actually in the picture, she was actually outputting that damage that the Onic actually needs. The first 2 deaths was only within the first 5 minutes, and that's when, you know, Rui was trying to gank on Yippee and she falls and you can't really escape from that. But when you get into a position where your team is backing you up, that's when Yippee really shines.
Yep, like to commend as well Livy from Onic Indonesia. There's a term that usually we don't hear when it comes to MLBB is suppressive fire. This Farsa played so well to put up suppressive fire for the forward momentum of the Terra Queens that they eventually got to a position of victory like this. We would not be able to get out of the base if Livy was not playing it to a T to protect that top lane tier 3 and then just finding a way back into the map.
Tim gak ada yang expect lolos to playoff, iya kah?
It was a complete shift in approach, the way that they were team fighting, right? Initially, it was kind of chaotic. We saw Navilera miss a lot of Raging Sandstorms in the early stages because Onic was the one that wanted to start fights. But as time went on, they started realizing, okay, Terra Queen is going to run at us whether we want it or not. We are going to use our resources in a utilitarian way. We are going to use our HP bars as defensive measures and constantly shift our positioning to make sure that Yippee is always standing as far back as possible.
Until they were on the offensive, until they got back into the driver's seat. This is contradictory to the well-known mantra of fake it till you make it. What Onic Indonesia did was take it till you make it, and they were just taking to the chin. They were taking their losses, rolling with the punches, and eventually a gold advantage and a map advantage made itself apparent, and they went for the juggler. Ladies and gentlemen, first match point currently in this finals bout is Onic Pertiwi of Indonesia. This contest could not be more tight, given that Terra Queens was in control of a majority of game number 1. Besides protecting Sikoshi, besides keeping herself scarce and hiding and waiting till that power spike is just almost unstoppable. Anything else that Terra Queens could do to maybe take us to game number 3?
The shift forward is in one of 2 directions. You either change up your gameplay style.
Sumpah, kayak gue mau sakit deh. Kayak bersin-bersin mulu, Cok. Oh,
I think a lot of the draft was pretty suited, but the Zusin is more better for slower engagements.
We'll see if that is the same approach.
Terror Queen sama Gaming Gladiator. Oh, itu 2 yang jadi kuda hitam.
At the helm, this chess battle, this contest of minds setting up the draft for game number 2. Gentlemen, it's all you.
All right, thank you, Leo. Let us go ahead and take it away, Churros. How about you? What do you think needs to change for game number 2?
The fights. The way that Terra Queens take the fights is where Ku likes to set things up. When she goes as a loose member to try to chase Livy down, when the third airstrike was on, I think that was where, you know, there's no one at the back line protecting Sikoshi, and Sikoshi falls together with Luna Lin because they're always together. The roam should be still kind of held back and trying to setting things up and trying to play a classic front to back, but it wasn't really a front to back. We see during the last couple of Lord fights, the fight was split up into 10 different directions. Everyone's just chasing who they want to chase.
The thing is, Terra Queens, I believe they want the fight to be split up in 10 different directions. So if they intend to stick to the same gameplay style, I think a change in draft.
Zetian lagi OP ya, kenapa di ban ya?
Looking at,
Zetian.
who actually needed to be jumping in front as well. Hilda's not really going to do much in the case of defense. So running down the opponent is the best way Ku can contribute, and Rina on the CC is not going to be able to really defend as well. Terra Queens are really depending on their players holding their own positions in a lot of the fights, and that worked initially, but then got adjusted too.
We're starting things off with the first phase of the ban complete. But one thing I noticed was that Onic is actually respecting this Hilda.
Kalau yang hitam di sini hitam.
Denying over the hands of Zev.
Loh,
Everything looks pretty much even Stevens for Terra Queens, but that is typically the Gata Gata spot, so they want to pick up.
nah, lah, untung dikasih tahu, men.
Which is highly, yeah, but it's highly valuable. So we'll go back into Terra Queens.
Still very safe, very universal opening, good damage, good bulkiness, get out of jail free card, and these two heroes generally clear mid lane very fast as well. So there's no argument for me for open up in this way, and Onic will be able to use that to hide the strategy going into this game too.
What about the Uranus? I mean, Rina also played a heck of a Uranus. Now that the Hilda's gone, you want to play aggressive. You could play a loose member with
Nah, udah ada.
Uranus instead, but you want to go with the CC.
Dit WP Oni ada fun match follow, masa sih? Bohong banget anjir.
Fine.
Skornya berapa? 1-0 Oni sekarang.
And is actually quite suited to the style that Terra Queens wants to play in the first place of diving into the backline. Since they do go for a Granger this time as well, I do hope they put Ku on a slightly more defensive optimized roamer, so that you don't have both of your frontliners running all the way into the enemy and leaving you vulnerable.
So at least right now, you have some sort of like backline disruptors, and you have sort of like a traditional front to back in that Granger, and you have pretty
Woi,
reliable.
ya Allah, disconnecting, Cok.
late game, but
Astaga Tuhan.
The Airtel as their last pick. And moving on to the second.
Zetian hero baru plus ultinya ngeselin bisa open map plus CC. Ah, no wonder, man.
The mid lane, and what's left
Tapi kayak dia hero jarak jauh ya.
got a juicing.
Kayak menarik.
If you want to play a little bit more sneaky, you could always go for. Oh no, like, was it? No, the lawyer was.
Zetian ultinya beli PSS sayang. Ah, yang tetes itu ya. Kayak menarik sih. Kayak pengen coba gue. Combo dari Parsha dan Yusun. Aduh, gue nggak bisa pakai Parsha lagi, guys.
It could be an option. Zusin, I already pointed out earlier, is a bit of a slow mage for what Terra Queens is trying to do.
Iritel.
The faster mages are not really in the meta right now as well. That's why Farsa has
Nonton
such
tim
a
apaan?
high
Onic Pertiwi.
overall. Khalid also gets banned out by Onic, so they're just trying to make sure Terra Queens doesn't have a hero that just
Gue udah pakai WKWK.
bullies the early game. They want to play
Gila.
a more classic style, which Onic
Kenapa nonton Navi kan Onic Ladies main?
Last
Lah, ini bukannya Onic.
from Onic.
Oh anjir, salah screenshot gua, sabar.
Out a particular
Patus gua bingung kok.
ban. So
Kok lu pada Navi, Cok? Sabar ya.
I don't think
Eh,
we'll be able to pick that up as well since the Farsa is open.
nah,
I think they're trying to suss out the Kimmy though. It might be a bait for them, and then they
sorry. Di saya di YouTube sama di TikTok beda, Cong. Di TikTok gua pakai stream relay, kalau YouTube kan link kan.
ban Yi Sun Shin, focus onto assassins.
Untung kasih tahu, men. Thank you. Gila.
Controlling the tempo of the backline.
Ulti Jet kan bisa gagalin ulti Parsha, ulti Angela Gelo loh. Itu hero broken anjir.
Suited for the way Terra Queens wants to play. Kim Granger
Tadi gua,
is actually a great
nah Onic nih, tadi gua kira Onic ganti logo. Logo anjir.
not really showing themselves the pre
Kok bisa udah ganti logo? Gimana ceritanya?
Valentina for them to steal away the Predator Strike and AOG.
Kenapa aku kasih tahu ya? Diam aja pas tadi pas mau selesai baru kasih tahu. Ih, justru lu kasih tahu lu baik dong. Berarti lu memberitahukan streamernya gitu loh. Baik, men.
Not bad
Gue lebih memilih kayak viewers yang ngomong guys, ketimbang viewers yang cuma nonton doang. Gue jadi bingung guys, bahkan gue streamer introvert ya. Gue tuh kalau misalnya lu pada cuma nontonin gue terus gak ngajak ngobrol tuh gue sebenarnya bingung tahu. Kayak mau ngomong apa men sama kalian. Apalagi gue bukan yang jago banget ajak ngobrol gitu loh.
You can actually still go Kimmy here. It actually matches
It kinda
up
works,
quite
the interaction
well
with-
with the Carmilla
Yeah.
without relying on late game scaling like the Sicilian. But again, not very suited for the way Terra Queens wants to play specifically. So we will have to see.
Kalau dia keluar Sicilian sih gila sih.
Kimmy would be a good option. The Zaz.
Zax.
The Zaz and Camilla.
Wih Camilla ya.
It's
Hero kesayangan you.
Control at its finest.
And the Fanny actually finally comes out over the hands of Zev. They're feeling good about
Gila
it.
menang gak sih 2-0? Fanny men, Fanny. Fanny ya Jeff. Fanny ya Seth gila sih. Seth. Gimana sih panggilnya? Seth. Gacor, Cok.
But I didn't actually expect it to be locked in Onic, setting the stage.
Hey, what do you say?
Gila.
Fanny is Indonesian flavor. It's uniquely Indonesian, and they love their Fanny. They love their high mobilities. But we're jumping into this game. Any last thoughts on this draft?
Okay, it's gonna be interesting. It's a little bit more difficult overall for Terra Queens. Yes, their
Yeah.
heroes are capable of taking care of themselves, but their overall team fight presence is much more lacking in comparison to the side of Onic. And then when we look at the early
Menang lah
game
nih harusnya
potential of
2-0.
Fanny, it just becomes
Gue stream bentar doang dong nih. Gila men.
Game
Gacor.
shall open wide the gates towards the land of dawn as Onic currently threatening to end the journey of our MWI Dark Horses. Can Terra Queens reverse their fate?
Question on everybody's head who's watching right now is the Zosk and the Camilla. Zosk taking a lot of damage early on, and Onic already getting that zone potential and that winning lane right off the bat. But the interaction between this really comes to light in the mid to late.
Gue gak gitu suka pick Jax sih. Kemarin juga gak tau gak gitu suka aja kalau misalnya. Gak tau. Why Jax?
Now that you're facing up against a Fanny, a wild card, an interesting pick coming out.
And Zev already trying to cause some damage in mid lane.
Spin to win, and the cable
Tipis.
Luna land, Luna Lane gets out safe, doesn't have the flicker, but Livy will
Gila.
First blood over to Onic. I think we knew coming into this game, early game was going to be Onic's playground. They're gonna focus on getting a snowball. The only losing lane is EXP, and that's why Livy is ganking it so much.
and Rina taking a lot of damage, getting knocked back, pushed up,
Oke,
knocked
Fury.
forward, pulled apart,
Itu bukan Purify itu apa sih?
all the way from the mid lane.
Vengeance ya, Vengeance. Bener gak sih?
You know where Rui is, getting taunted up, Zev on the wall, spin,
my
taking Rui down.
Goodness.
Gila loh, Seth si OP cok.
That is the
Broken banget itu orang.
mind right there. The unbreakable into the cable spam. Onic is playing this early game.
Gila sih, dia sih broken loh kata gue kan.
Terra Queens wants to be the one setting
Broken
the
men
up.
dia.
So they've drafted in a way to
Gacor,
not give it
parah
to them.
men.
Again,
My god.
it's so smart to keep sending Livy to the EXP lane because that is the only part of the map where they don't have priority.
It's a 1v2
Bisa.
down the mid side.
Menang.
Pooh and Luna Lin against Pooh.
Aduh.
But we will be able to walk out safe. Doesn't have AOG as of now, but a curse of luck will take a little bit more time as Livy already on level 4, and the turtle will be the next major objective.
Next major objective should be pretty easy for Onic to contest. I really don't think Terra Queens have the team fight necessary, even at level 4, to actually try and fight it.
Start to zone everyone out. A lot of damage. Helena will start to get work onto Neverina. A little bit of suppressive fire to keep everyone at bay. Helena goes into the
Hello.
back line. Here comes Zeb with that damage. And two members taking down
Ah.
Pooh on the back line again with a little bit of cable play down the mid lane.
It is beautiful. It's perfect.
Eh,
It's exactly what Onic needs to be doing.
Weh.
Now Valera wants
Nice, gila.
Pooh's next on the chopping block.
Aduh.
Huge red cross right on her back. Won't be enough as Livy proves me wrong and takes her down with a killing spree.
Onic is showing the
Gila
world
sih.
how it's done right now. Every angle
Gila.
meticulously calculated in that turtle fight. We saw Poe jump into that funnel with the Unbreakable, setting it up perfectly for the Iron Sights of Zev. And then even following up afterwards, Navilera surviving for so long, knowing that Terra Queens just doesn't have enough early game burst damage. They're all about zone control, but it doesn't matter if you just run right into the back.
There starts to get work done as you
Gila.
off the screen. Takes down Rui and his solo kill. Libby pulls the flicker out. Save
Ini mah menang gak sih guys? Menang gak sih guys ini?
Will deal 2 chunk of damage.
Hah?
Will get knocked back by
Kata gue mau menang cok.
more damage and here comes Zev. Will not be
Aduh,
able to
tuh
keep
tipis
it
banget
down.
gila.
Onic staying disciplined will hold back and take down the first turtle.
Onic have been hiding this secret weapon.
Ya kayak gue makan kecepetan deh tadi. Sumpah, gak enak cok sekarang lambung gue.
And it is terrifying. The Terra Queens have not been prepared.
Gila soal gitu makanya cok. Broken cok tuh orang.
How the composition is meant to be executed.
Ya gimana orang gurunya King Kong sama Kairi cok.
Coming out of Terra Queens this game.
Wajar aja Jir.
Them any favors. Already a 2,000 goal lead in favor of Onic. The only lane that is keeping up in gold is going to be Sikoshi. So Terra Queens might want to put more attention over there.
Zev cable a little bit too far and out of the way.
Aduh, cosplay kah?
And Zev will get taken down, shut down by Rui on the top side.
Aduh.
Takes down Living with the Dominator's Descent. That's a lot of damage coming in from that Zaz. The Spoo gets taken down as well with the double kill.
Okay, nice one.
She will make it count.
Aduh, oi, oi.
Yippee. One more hit onto Sikoshi.
Oh my
She
God.
will get out safe as both gold laners are holding a personal vendetta against each other.
That was actually massive. Oh, that was close. Just a
Eh,
little.
hi honey, hello, welcome.
But Terra Queens actually got a really good trade. All of a sudden, the 2K gold lead is reduced to only about 600. Sikoshi was the only survivor of the skirmish, and we always pointed out that she is going to be the most
Banyak mistake-nya,
important
Cok.
member for Terra Queens to keep alive. I do think Onic dived a little bit too deep there, and Zev trying to go for the solo kill when she was that low on energy.
Halo, halo
Shut
sayang.
down gold as well.
Kita sudah sangat amat lama tidak bertemu.
The Dominator's Descent, but we've yet to see the Curse of Blood actually make a huge impact in any of these team fights.
And not yet, because unfortunately Curse of Blood is very conditional in the way that it is used. It's a big AoE, but doesn't nearly provide as much impact as something like Implosion, for example. Oh, Lunalyn!
One more frame and she might have been saved as Libby takes her down. Ku a little bit too late.
Pretty sure Lunalyn actually.
Iya, aku ke dewa terus kadang. Oh sekarang dewa. Ada siapa tuh?
If she was able to jump in, it would have bought a lot more time. Onic can now use that numbers advantage to secure a very easy turtle.
Nice little trade. Rui knows that they can't contest for this turtle.
Welcome guys, welcome to the stream.
Instead, but they're pushing that situation though, waiting for the right times. They're trying to find the right angle onto Ku. It's hard to break down. There's a Curse of Blood onto 2. As Onic will back off. As Rina on the back line. Now Valera trying to take
Vilera kali sebalik deh.
first damage tickling. The Dominant's Descent will get
Mau dipaksa
a
tak?
little bit too deep, forced to use that flicker out of the way, but here comes Yippee with a huge burst of damage. One more hit and Ku might be able to fall. It's Rina on the back line, dealing on to 3.
Onic is
Stop
taking
guys,
a
guys.
surprisingly long time here, but they do end up in control in the end. I'm kind of surprised they didn't go for that orange buff, but Sam is not around, so it's a bit difficult to do so anyway. Navilera, we can see how difficult it is to remove the Phobius at this point. Went for the Radiant into the Dreadnought, so covering all the bases, and a lot of Terra Queen's damage is very slow, so because of that, they're not able to quickly burst a target down.
Aman sih
Now,
harusnya.
First Lord spawning up in a minute as Terra Queens are still struggling.
Ayang manis, hi Bima, long time no see bro.
100 gold lead, not a lot as Onic still has to maintain that wave pressure on long lane, short lane. Side waves are still pushing in favor of Onic.
Yeah, it really isn't as bad as it seemed like after the first couple
Ribet
of
nih,
minutes.
ribet.
That big trade in the gold lane made a huge difference in reducing.
Ayo besok follow midnight.
Was able
Gak
to
janji
hold
deh.
on to and getting multiple shutdowns at the same time. Sikoshi is still going to be the main target.
Oh, the wall span, Dominus Descent just to save Lunalyn in time, but a huge resource already
Oh.
used up. Zed
Oh.
still has the cables, will be getting out saved. That's the beauty of that Fanny. You can be at the bottom side, pushed in that wave, and can be in the midst of battle forcing crucial resources.
And this is one of the risks of picking your EXP laner so early as
Oh,
well.
sengit banget ini.
Would have the crowd control to try and stop Zeb.
Mereka terlalu banyak bikin mistik
Rina
daripada lagi
locked
unggul.
in the CC very quickly. So Onic knew they wouldn't have to worry about more than one potential source of CC.
Lord spawned up. Terra Queens in position, as is Onic. Is with the Fanny. You can afford to slow push down. If you have vision of Fanny, it doesn't really matter. For Terra Queens, they need to be able to identify where Yippee is. It's still 0-0-3 at this point. And Sakoshi is finding it hard to deal with that brunt of damage, especially with a composition like Onic that's so mobile.
Looks like Terra Queens are trying to force this while Zeb is still in the bot lane.
Curse of Blood already utilized. Expressive fire from Livy, trying to push everyone back out of the way. Ku is next on the top and down low. As Ku down in the back line as well. Facing up against the rest of Terra Queens, but they are a little bit more disciplined. But here comes Kui down to Kamikaze. Did a little bit of damage, getting out of the way. A lot of ultimates already spent by the side of Terra Queens. Onic will try to rush and blitz this out, but Rui actually takes down Lara from off the map. Terra Queens are still slowly clawing their way back up.
After an extended interaction, Terra Queens actually comes out on top. Rui picks off the Phobius, so Onic has one less front line. They are in control of the Lord pit.
Zeb getting stopped in his tracks. The Lord getting a reset. Ku taking a lot of damage from him. Ku getting
lanjutin Cok. Oke. Lordnya dulu guys. Hello. Oh no.
That the porcupines are raising their spikes onto the Terra Queens, but they still managed to get that Lord. Onic might have taken down two, but Terra Queens, they stole the main objective.
Yippee got a great flank, but at the same time, she got out of the way, but playing Rina did the exact same thing. The CC picked off Zeb and Livy by herself. So because of that, there was no retry congestion from the side of Onic. It still ends up being a pretty solid trade overall. As you can see, the CC in the backline causing a lot of havoc.
I was busy looking at the Earthel because that was a nice flank, but the Halloween was keeping the backline busy. That could have gone way differently if Zeb was able to survive against the wrath of Ku.
But that's why you gotta mind your positioning. Fanny, definitely not as strong as she used to be, but still a very annoying hero to deal with if done correctly. Thanks to that, we actually see the goal is completely even. We are 11 minutes into the game at this stage. It is still anyone's a game, but the Lord is pushing up in favor of the Terra Queens. And a lot of Onic's resources have to be spent to make sure their other towers do not fall.
They're strike keeping everyone else at Velu and Lin already popped the dominance this sand, but they can get the reposition, doing a little bit of a tickle off of Valera. Sakoshi coming online as well with the damage coming through. You want to take down that T1 desperately as Terra Queens having the Lord push up that situation on the top side. Zeb gets out safe. Both these two teams, they're just touching, they're just teasing each other now.
I do think that Onic needs to tone it down once again. They need to adapt, play more towards the team, because Terra Queens, again, really don't have that good of a team fight combination, and yet it's still working.
For airstrike to kick things off over the backline. Ruiz gunning everyone down with a rhythm of joy. But on the backside as well, you got Zab just making things work. 4 members still alive on the side of Terra Queens. Onic, 2 members fell. And as much as Onic had
sebenarnya Vilera menurut gua terlalu offside sih mainnya.
That was a mistake by Onic. Again, like I said, you do not need to force things. Play it as calculated. Zeb is just clearing the way here, so it's fine. But
trying to force it though.
No, Chef. Alah.
And she goes down.
Why? I literally just said, don't do that.
They can't hear you.
You're right, they can't hear. But really, first, you set yourself up for a 4-man curse of blood. This ultimate is not usually that effective, but when you get that many people, yes, it is, especially with Rui running straight into the backline and picking off Yippee. Yes, Zeb found Sakoshi, but you lose your own goal laner and more members as a result of that. It is not worth it.
Guys, semangat ya, bisa yuk.
The later stage of the game, both teams are still equalized as Terra Queens has 1 Lord advantage. Next Lord will be coming up now. As now with Zeb on the Fanny, just playing as a lone member. She doesn't see that! Down underneath, ambush, able to cable out safe. This Terra Queens, they are reading her like an open book.
Zev took an entire pie to the face and somehow managed to fly out while blind. Terra Queens though not stopping on the pressure.
Gila,
Instead,
dicicil,
Seal
Cak.
runs into Onic in the mid bush.
Yippee just bursting everyone down the back line, but not enough. The dominant
Halo. Wah, Yupi offset sih kata gue. Aduh.
Tries to deal a lot of damage, Rui taking a lot, but able to manage to get out safe. But a crucial resource have been spent by both teams. Onic loses the crucial damage dealer.
I feel like we need to check with production if the teams are swapped, because I feel like I'm looking at the opposite result of game number 1. Onic is forcing things unnecessarily, and Terra Queens is winning out by holding their position. I really don't think Yippee needs to force these flanks. Look at how much damage he does.
Oh, 2-man curse of blood. We're trapping everyone down. There's curtain call. Zap bursting. Lunalin down. Rui making an answer count for Neville Laura as well. For airstrike to push everyone away. A little bit of suppressive fire, but here comes Rui with a lot of damage as well. Not enough to take Livy down, but here comes Zav. Not a lot of resources, not a lot of dashes. Getting knocked up by the tsunamis. His crew slowly
Aduh.
takes up that Lord as Zav. Cables out safe. Sakoshi, a lot of damage. Getting taken out. Yippee pops that sprint. Try to gun everyone down. Pooh in the back lines of enemy territory. Yippee finally takes down Crew. Sakoshi takes down Pooh. Yippee. So coming in. Zav on the back line. Arena over the wall. Oh, gets sent to the graveyard as Lord slowly marching down the bottom side. Still, they take
Hati nggak sih? Hati guys. Hati, hello.
Value, it's already down to half.
Oh, mata.
Oh, here comes Rui once again.
Livy won't get taken out. Yippee barely surviving, but next on the chopping block, huge red flag on her back as Zav slowly cables down, trying to deal with that Lord. As Terra Queens just taking control of that match. Zav finds herself in the midst of jungle.
Offside kata
the
gue.
jungle, forcing Lunalin to use the Dominator's Descend, able to get out safe for now.
This is very, very strange from Onic. They are not playing the adaptive style that we saw from them in game number 1, and that we specifically praised them for. Being able to figure out how to adapt and how to take advantage.
Reset gak sih guys? Reset, oi.
And yet they are falling into the same habits themselves. They do not need to be forcing these. They can team fight. They have a lot of damage, yes, but that does not necessitate going for these 1v1 bursts. Wait, you have a Gatot, you have a Phobius, you can buy so much time in the front line, and then Zev and Yippee can come in at the right timing.
Both teams mirroring each other's play styles. Wave pushing down the bottom side in favor of Terra Queens. Onic already cleared things up. That's a neutral lane right there. The play for either side, man, this is a very tricky situation. There are critical heroes that you want to take down. There are crucial members that both teams want to target. For Onic, it's Yippee. For Terra Queens, it's Sakoshi, but Rui is the one that's carrying everyone on her back.
And Rui's already maxed out on items here. Again, not very gonna be found.
Navalera taking a huge chunk of damage onto
Oh,
the face,
no.
getting pulled back, stunned up, immortality popped up. Crew, one up for save is Navalera gets sent to the graveyard once again. Terra Queens just slowly picking off one after another.
And it is working out pretty well again.
Navilera ngapain
Are
Jo?
now in their
Astaga.
zone, they're in their comfort. This draft, which is quite unusual, has actually scaled up quite safely, scaled up quite well, so they have a little bit more leeway in order to start being the ones taking the initiative. They have map control at this point, and Onic is going to need to try and reset the state of the map by
Lu harusnya nggak boleh show mas. Lihat, coba pada targetin dia tuh. Oh.
Arena tries to stop her in her tracks, but the recall will be imminent as Terra Queens slowly but surely trying to clear out that wave and handle this Fanny. Lord spawns up, Onic already in position. Terra Queens making a beeline for it.
See the exchange in the river once
Rui?
again.
Rui already deals a huge chunk of damage onto Livy. No more flicker for this Farsa. As Terra Queens, they're trying to push Onic back out of the way. They know where Zev is. They're trying to wait for it. They're trying to bait her out.
Sakoshi gonna be doing some poke here. Zev, as you pointed out, is waiting on the opposite side. Will eventually show herself since she has to clear out the mid lane. Rui just looking for a squishy target to burst down if possible. Terra Queens are once holding on to a gold lead, but it's not a very big one. It's only 2k. As we approach the 18-minute mark, this is still anyone's game.
Yeah, Zev is still out of the picture, but this is a Fanny.
Wah.
You want to stay under the shadows. But now they're trying to force it though. They're trying to push everyone back. Who's taking a huge brunt of the damage?
Dan
As Yippee takes her down, Luna Lin takes down that Farsa. And you got a 1-for-1 trade, but here comes Zav, still fresh, still full of life, and taking down Rui. Rui dashes, bobs, weaves out of the way. He has that immortality, he has that
Stop
second
gak sih?
life. Terra Queens still can contest for this Lord. That's the problem with that Fanny. You can't dance around this major objective.
It's very chaotic the way that Onic is playing this. Fanny doesn't hold space very well, but the rest of our team does.
Oh.
Take a lot of damage from Sakoshi. It will not be enough to finish that job. The Winter Nature pops in the nick of time. Yippee from the back line. Rui will take down Evilidd from all the mess, splitting that fight once again.
That Wind of Nature timing was so good from Sakoshi the moment Zev left. The moment she saw a sign of Yippee, the button was pressed, and now Luna Lin going in.
Domineers descend, a little damage. Yippee is slowed down. Can't afford to chase her though. So no more Earthel, no more main damage dealer though. Domineers descend still up. Luna Lin pops back out. Terra Queens blitzing down this Lord. Zep doesn't want to contest for this one. Might be able to steal it this time around. Rui.
Damn.
Underneath Onyx nose. This crew taking brunt of damage from Yippee.
Damn, Sep. Wah, sumpah nyangkut, Cok.
She falls to the ground.
We can officially start saying that this is a true reversal from the Terra Queens. Onic are scrambling like headless chickens, and the Terra Queens are finding the precise moments to punish them.
Kebanyakan ini, Cong. Aduh, blundernya parah, men.
But it's going to be very difficult
Halo.
to do so if you are not coordinated in your approach.
Starting things slow. A little bit of a zoning potential from the airstrike. Dominant's descent already utilized by Lunar Lin. Terra Queens slow pushing this, waiting for the Lord to get in position. They need 3 waves to start crashing down onto the T3s.
I feel like there's a possibility Onic might be putting a bit too much attention onto that Curse of Blood. Maybe they're trying not to stand together so that the damage doesn't spread.
Oh,
But
that's cool. Take a lot of damage, but here comes Rui! Taking down Yippee! Got an immortality all popped up over the wall. Zap can't chase that one. Down goes. Now a little bit too close to the sun. Sakoshi takes up
Hi, hi.
Zep with a cable ends up safe, but goes out of the way for some reason. As Onyx still desperately trying to defend. You got a T3 down the top side and bottom, already cracked wide open.
a good choice by the Terra Queens to decide to slow this down a bit. Sakoshi will stay long enough to mid inhibitor and walk away to a naked base. Onic no longer holding on to any structures on the map. They are starting to reach their final items, but Terra Queens are the ones in full control. Again, the team of the game right now needs to be to slow it down. Onic is well aware.
Gaming gladiator real dark horse ngangin Navi MWI abis itu Navi PH juara MWI tahun lalu. Gelo. Ngeri, bro.
Just trying to slow things down, but it does look like Terra Queens are trying to steal away this purple buff. But here comes Rui. Does have the retribution though. Takes it away from Zap and locked it down. AOG a little bit too close though. The Winter Crown keeping her safe for now. There's a one-man Crystal Blood to take down. Evilidd will be next to fall.
Aduh.
Terra Queens take down 2 from Onic. This is a numbers game. They might be able to push this wave. Zap tries her desperate best to clear up these minions and go back to base. It's another crucial defense from Onic. This might be it though on the back line. You can take a little bit too much damage. Get a fair airstrike already popped up. Crystal Flood down to 2. Takes down 1. Rui another. No more Farsa. It's just Fanny against the world as the Terra Queens continue their terror.
Tuh, dari menang jadi kalah, coba mereka kenapa, men? Hey.
Again, they have proven to us why they are deserving of the title, why they are a team worth respecting. They have once again taken a game off of a team with much more international standing.
This could have gone way differently should Onic play a little bit more defensively and wait for their power spikes, but man,
Iya, tadi mainnya agresif banget, men, parah. Aduh. Padahal awal-awal tuh udah menang banget, men. Gak sabaran, sumpah.
I am really shocked. We literally expressed that this draft was weird. It probably wouldn't really work out since Onyx's lineup looks a lot easier to work on. Their early game was perfectly done as well in order to control most of the map and start.
Ciwi-ciwi, ayo turunkan ego dan nafsu. Ayo reset.
They actually did have good itemization and good damage. They
gila
kept
sih.
forcing things when they really didn't need to.
Yeah. This is a tough pill to swallow for Onic. And I think that for Terra Queens,
Bentar ya guys, bentar.
they did it very beautifully. They knew their power spikes. There's a reason why they picked up that Zaz. There's a reason why they picked up the Carmilla. But this is a truly interesting draft that I want to talk more about. But let's hear from Leo. What are your thoughts watching this from the sidelines?
I'll be honest with you, my heart is split and my attention has been diverted. Yes, this is an amazing win for Terra Queens, making that Zask and Carmilla work. A throw no caution to the wind, pocket pick that just was enough to stump the Fanny. Possibly the first Fanny in all of MWI, maybe the second, if my statistics serve me correctly. But as a quick update, Navi PH has fallen.
What?
Gaimin Gladiators have swept the defending champions from the knockouts.
That is huge.
That is what's happening on Stream A. But Stream B, this could be once again another upset. A huge, huge development in the MLBB women's scene. Now back into the action. Let's talk about Terra Queens versus Onic. My eyes were still on the game, all right? I was still paying attention. And here's the thing. That Fanny, there's a reason why, despite it being still mechanically and beyond all logic being a broken hero in MLBB, has a specific window. And those windows were not opened up by Terra Queens. Rui did not back down. Rui did not allow for Onic to spread them wide. And if anything, it's Terra Queens who stood their ground and said, you know what? If you're picking this fight here, I'm dropping the Festival of Blood, or rather the Feast of Blood. Festival of Blood is an emblem, which is the one you see on multiple heroes here. But I'm dropping the Feast of Blood, and if we're fighting here, we're fighting here. You're gonna regret it. And that's where I think the usually power pick
Hello, Evilidd.
in Evillid's hands kind of backfired.
Halo, kayak buat verify-nya kamu boleh follow Instagram sama TikTok lo dulu, terus abis itu tinggal on cam.
Well, when Terra Queens was lacking items because their damage is just so slow, they basically have no burst at all.
But what did it do in the late game?
Yes, that's the issue.
That's the problem. As soon as Terra Queens clawed back and closed that gap, and then built 1,000 gold lead, 2,000 gold lead, 3,000. What's the Fanny to do there? Sure, you can split the map, but the question is, what else does this lineup
Suara kamu
do
kecil banget.
besides let the Phobius die?
How else could Onic have better played this around Terra Queens? I mean, they did all the right things.
I think one key that kind of stopped, or a huge speed bump to Onyx sweep, would be the Zask.
Yes.
All right, say what you will about the Zask being this weird pig.
Oke, kalau sudah tinggal on cam.
Around this time last year, the real battle in mid was Zask and Zushin. And what does the Zask bring to the table? It's a hard stop. It's literally, all right, you found me, Fanny. Psych! I'm just gonna go into my big Johnny here, the
Nah, coba
dominator descent,
kameranya kamu
and then
buka
how
dulu.
about you try again? And that definitely slows down Onyx momentum and denies them that easy win. That's why at some point, Onyx just stopped finding kills. Onyx just stopped finding movements on the map, and this does not take
Nggak buka.
away Yippie's
Apa tuh?
stellar
Oh,
performance.
dari
Again,
HP aja.
even when they lose, even when they go all the distance, such as
Iya,
now,
dari HP boleh.
she still is miles ahead stats-wise.
Yippie was farming so effectively that she was basically one-shotting the backline into the mid-game. The first time that we actually saw Yippie participate in a team fight, she picked up a double kill all by herself by flanking in the Lord Pit. The problem is, she kept trying to do that afterwards, and the circumstances are no longer quite as applied. Yes, it would be great if you can just blow up the squishy targets. But what if that doesn't happen? Then all of a sudden you are super out of position and your team cannot get to you.
This is the reality situation, ladies and gentlemen, watching from at home, all around the world. Nothing is granted, everything is earned. So goes the Esports World Cup mantra. But as well, anything is possible. Onic, Indonesia, could fall here right now in the hands of Terra Queens because they are at match point. One more game away. Looking at the damage dealt. Sikoshi again, respectable 93k. second only to Rui, but she did take 60 on the clapback, which is again for a winning team that went all the way like this. Still quite a bit. I keep watching Sakoshi. I keep looking at her and saying, what else do you need to do to protect yourself? How else can your team cover that up?
There were a lot of enabling factors for Rui to deal with that much damage, and it's got to deal with the Carmilla. We haven't talked about the Carmilla quite a bit, but you know, this is the beautiful faces around the highest stats on the board. Rui with the highest DPM, Pooh with the highest DTPM, and Rui again. We've seen Rui a lot of times.
Rui is a force of nature. She decides to do things, and there's very little that can stop her. I love that you mentioned the Carmilla. The Carmilla is kind of a force multiplier for Rui, because as soon as y'all enter the Feast of Blood, Rui's modus just becomes activated. Like she's basically a warm
Tes.
bowl of spaghetti, and Kui's the sauce.
Ih, kalah kah? Iya men, kalah men. Gue juga gak expect jir.
I mean, the Carmilla is what basically turns Rui into the ruin of the opposite side here. Sakoshi still ends up being our match MVP from Sony right here on that Granger, because yeah, the Granger is supposed to be a squishy hero, isn't usually supposed to eat a lot of damage, and yet she survived 60,000 damage. A lot of times Seb was specifically waiting to find her, and yet she was the one reversing that fight.
And mind you, she is not rocking a Wind of Nature. So she
Gimana ya ini ya?
the Fanny
Takut banget gue mental mereka keguncang, Cok.
with the space, and she, I guess, did it the old-fashioned way. She brute forced her way into a strong position and said to Sev, hey, if you can't kill me, we're winning these fights and we're taking objectives, we're turning this game around, and now we find ourselves at match point. The ladies are actually finding themselves now on their way to their battle stations, getting comfy for game number 3. We'll see the game highlights once more and see exactly where Onic may have dropped the ball, where Onic may have slipped up. You guys have an exact time stamp as to where this may have happened.
The mid lane fight around the, I can't really remember which minute, but we will probably see it somewhere in the highlight. The mid lane fight where Ku got a 4-man curse of blood is where the game instantly turned around. Because up until that point, Onic was controlling the entire map. They were winning the game, they were doing everything exactly correct. And now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if that caused them to overthink the subsequent fights. Whereas, like, we can no longer group up. We have to try and split up the fight and just try to ignore the Carmilla because of what happened.
The Curse of Blood, rather. There it is. Even right outside the Lord pit, they caught him, and Sev got compromised. Sev got taken out, and that sends the rest of Onic back. So I think that was past the turning point. That was worse.
I feel like it was the area where Arena was actually on that back line, taking down Livy and then Pooh, if I'm not wrong. But this was, I mean, we're not giving enough props to Arena, especially on the CC. Really sort of like this shadow member. You don't really see her, but then when you do, she is super, super impactful, and that turned the tides of battle.
Oh, she is on you when she does decide to get on you. And I think that was something that really hindered Onic from getting into better position.
Gimana ya guys, gue jadi kayak deg-degan.
Centric lineup. The fan is the one that kind of punishes your opponent when you get out of set formation, when you, how do you say, respond the wrong way to how they attack you. So now going into game number 3, we know that the Fanny is a threat, but it's not a threat without responses.
Gimana dong?
The self-proclaimed dark horses of the tournament are 1 game away from eliminating one of the powerhouses of the tournament. It's already happened. Now VPH has already fallen. What more? 1 elimination to turn the tides.
Will we be witnessing the dethroning of the previous era here is a massive question to ask. And yet we have already received one of the answers. Something that
Gimana dong?
ever
Ah, takut.
even hearing it from you now, I still can't believe that it happened.
It's real.
So that means that Onic needs to watch their backs. They are the favorites going into this fight, but Terra Queens have already taken 1 game off of Navi in the past as well. So not a team to be underestimated.
Mind you, the Burmese have a legacy of excellence, being the only other country besides Indonesia to share the grand finals spot alongside the Philippines in the M Series. So now they stand at the precipice of greatness. ready to prove themselves limitless here in the first round, the quarterfinals of the knockout stage of MWI 2025. Onic Pertiwi on the play. Terra Queens answering back with a double. It's Churros and Staffa taking care of business.
Udah pusing
One
nih.
thing is for sure, sir. We are getting a massive start to the quarterfinals. I was not expecting the impact of the games to.
Kak nggak main game terbaru Upin Ipin. Aku nggak tertarik guys. Kayak mau tahu?
Here to fight.
Yeah. Pretty much, game number 3, very different start to the banning phase. Joy won't see the light of day. Baxia won't either. There's a 3-game ban for Baxia. Onic though, what would they fear? Now they're in the first pick spot. This is where typically teams will pick up the Uranas, the Badangs, the Kaleas, and for Terra Queens, I think more likely they just want the mid lane duo, especially for Ku and Luna Lin, to get something that they're more comfortable in. We saw a really different approach in the previous game with the Zas and the Carmilla. Right now, they have something out their pockets. What better time than now when it's a single elimination game, top 4 spot in question.
I mean, Zask is a surprisingly effective pick in the hands of Terra Queens because we already know this is a team that generally abandons their mid and goal to fend for themselves. So a hero that basically acts as a built-in Winter Crown is going to work out a lot of the time. And Luna Lin on that Zas bought a lot of space, exactly like Leo mentioned previously. I wouldn't be surprised if we got to see it again. And it is up to Onic to decide if they want to switch things up. Up until now, they've been sticking to the Farsight Gatot opening.
Nope, no more Farsight Gatot opening now. As Gatot gets banned out by the side of Onic, Terra Queens will solidify that last phase of the first phase ban. Last ban of the first phase. That typically is the Uranus spot, but I don't think any of the first 2 games Uranus was even in question. Onic might spice things up a little bit with that first Uranus pick on the blue side. But there's a lot of options.
Kan gue nih cok, soalnya langsung pulang ini.
Value makers, but it will be the Badang wide and open, denying it from the hands of Ku.
Keeping it a little bit more universal, I think we're not really going to get to see Uranus for this series. If Onic were to first pick it here, they would already be picking it into a counter because up until now, Rina has only been playing CC. Terra Queens have specifically been prioritizing winning out that EXP lane, and it's understandable why they would do so since they do want dive heroes that are able to affect them mid-game. But we see a big shift right here. The Hilda shows up with the Yi Sun Shin.
Interesting priority. I think Vision Play is just
Badang,
what they
Hilda
wanted.
sama
They
Yi Sun
done
Shin.
well in the first game today
Tuh.
against Virtus Pro, and now they're trying to go again. And Onic will snap pick the Suyo up on the second phase pick. And I think this kind of works out well, especially Onic, who likes to play a very aggressive early game. The only issue is they really fall off in the mid to late stage of the game. We've seen that in game number 2. And the CC actually goes in the hands finally of Onic, which is now one of the more priority EXP laners. If you pick up the Uranus here, you pick up the Yuzhong, it doesn't really matter because CC would be able to match that tempo and speed.
It's specifically to steal it away from playing Arena as well, since that's just been a early pick fallback for the Terra Queens. Throughout games 1 and 2, Zusin going to be the final pick on the red side for Terra Queens in the first phase. This is a hero that we thought didn't work too well for them in game number 1. Looks like they want to give it another try, and it'll instantly ban out the Farsa as well.
No more Farsa. Kimi's still viable. I think that both these 2 teams should try to contest for Sakoshi and Yippie's heroes. Moskov looked pretty good as well. We also could see something like the Granger, but there's too much that, the Granger's already banned out from Onic, so you don't want to deal with that anymore. I think
Aduh, kenapa nggak pick Parsha duluan?
be a possible option for either of these 2 gold laners too.
Ritual's pretty safe. We've seen the Harif before in the past. It was actually banned out in game number 1, so now
Gua nggak
that
tahu
it's
lagi
open,
guys, sana
could be
gua
a
pusing gua.
possibility. Do Terra Queens want to continue banning out mid laners? Under the current meta, the mid lane hero pool is actually among the smallest.
Suaramu gak ada.
Locked in their
Waduh.
own pick. It's a possibility.
Sekarang udah ada.
There are a lot of options, and I think for Terra Queens, the only thing they lack in the first 2 games is late game insurance and late game.
Tadi commute coy. Tadi
where you want someone to do the side
ada
things.
urusan bentar.
Typically with the Hilda, they kind of achieve that, but then you lose that form of like backline disruptor, and Terra Queens is a kind of team that likes to split up all of these team fights. Without the CC in their hands, this might be looking really tough for Terra Queens to try to disrupt.
There are definitely still EXP lane possibilities. Terra
Moscow.
Queens will ban the Irritel instead, which does make sense now that the Granger is already gone. Irritel is one of the better goal laners still open in the draft. I do agree with you that Moscow is probably the next best thing, depending on whether these teams would rather pull out a carry or Beatrix instead.
You wanna
Is
see
it
how the
worth
classic-
banning
the Harris?
Moscow? No. Okay, they banned the Harris.
We haven't seen Bruno yet. I think Moskov will be the next best choice. At least you have some form of escapability. They take some time to come online. 1-1 wouldn't be in the question. It's too hard to pop your weakness points. You don't have that heavy front line that you accomplished. You have
Jantungku.
now, what's left?
My mini hype.
Personally, I don't like this pick, but I see where they're coming from. Play the safe game, play the long game, try to hit that 10-12 minute mark, and then try to get Sakoshi online.
But there really aren't a lot of good targets for 1-1.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, Bodang
You
is
don't
kind of
have
good
a-
because it's committal,
Yeah.
and then you pop your weakness points easy. But then CC can just jump away. Suyo just dashes out. There's not a lot unless there is a final pocket pick in the hands of Terra Queens.
Yeah, that final pick needs to be a setup hero for 1-1, because otherwise Terra Queens have no way of locking someone down long enough
Wait,
to
were
get
they-
the crossbow.
Were they the ones that picked up the Valorant? No, they actually go for the Claude and the Zask. It's a debut pick for Claude in the MWI, I think.
Huh.
We
You
haven't
might
seen
be
that
right,
one.
actually, and that's a big surprise because Claude used to be the
The
universal
meta,
fallback.
the one.
Claude was that goal laner that would never go. Wow, Khalid
So
Hilda.
two aggressive fighters on the side of Terra Queens, inflicting fear into the hearts of the Porcupines.
Khalid, Hilda, Yisun Shin make a lot of sense for the way that Terra Queens wants to play the game, and 1-1 actually does take care of herself pretty well, but Zusin is still kind of a weird pick in this particular position, since it doesn't offer quite enough direct crowd control or damage over time. Onic, they have taken a little bit of a page out of Terra Queen's book. Livy going to be able to take a little bit better care of herself now on that side.
Aku nggak pede sama ininya ya, sama apa
I would say
line up-nya
it
guys.
is fresh, it's new, it's something that
Hero-nya.
these two teams haven't encountered before in maybe their practice, their scrims, but they've definitely done research before. But this is it, no changes now. The final game, Onic Prithvi up against the Terra Queens. Whoever wins goes up with the 4th place. Will Terra Queens be able to rewrite the script and take out Onic, or will Onic remain on the throne?
We have already witnessed history being rewritten once today. Will Terra Queens be the second author that is brand a new epic? Onic going to be the ones to try and put a stop to that. Looking at the emblems on both sides, nothing too out of the ordinary overall. I think, yes, we are seeing a double concussive blast as well coming in from Terra Queens. It is a flicker on the Khalid, so not going for more defensive options since playing Rina is the one playing it in the EXP lane.
You got a lot of zonal potential using the Nightmaric Spawn just to get additional reach over onto Luna Lin, taking a lot of damage so far. I like how aggressive Terra Queens is, and Ku has really adjusted the way that her aggression works. It's not aggressive without reason. She's aggressive and giving intelligence. See, she's on reconnaissance duty. She sees 4 members, now she knows she needs to back out.
Terus main pelan sih ini kalau kata gue mah.
We can see the instant shift from Rui going up into the goal lane instead, but Yippee gonna choose to play it safe. Claude does have a bit of a hard time 1v1ing 1-1 early in the lane, So the goal of the Onic gold laner is just to make sure that she is able to farm up to get that Trinity and then come online into the mid to late phase.
To be honest, Sadafa, I think we're in for a very long game. 1-1, Claude, very late game heroes, or I would say mid to late. We're seeping into like maybe that 12-minute mark where almost out of full item
The
goes
thing is, I
up.
ordinarily agree, but it's Terra Queens. Just look at the way they play.
Yeah, speaking of which, Ku already trapped under between a rock and a hard place. Revitalize will keep her safe. No sprint for her, so she won't be able to get too aggressive. But Henrina is on flanking duty, trying to find a wraparound. They see where Henrina is. The turtle down to a quarter, down to a half. As Terra Queens trying to ramp this up, waiting for Rui to get in position. Turtle gets a reset.
I think they're gonna take this slow
Oh no,
on it.
it's not a lot of reset though. There's a fist crack onto Rage Sandstorm. First blood goes over to Henrina. Rui takes down the turtle. Zap takes down Rui. And Luna Lin pulls everyone back out of the way. Nevalera takes down and splits up that fight.
Okay. Honestly, I gotta give props at this point. Rui's retry timing is actually ridiculous. It doesn't really matter the situation you're in. This girl finds the objectives. They end up trading 1 for 1. It's actually not so ideal for Terra Queens since they lost their jungler, but it's somewhat balanced out by the fact that they were able to take the turtle. So it ends up being fairly 50-50 for now.
A little bit of a slower game this time around. None of these two teams want to push the situation too far in. And Terra Queens, they are playing as a unit now. The mid lane duo, clearing out that waves, making the rotations to shift the attention away from EXP's side. They want to take down Yippee as much as possible to identify that that is the critical and crucial player. You got Mountain Shocker ready. Ku is on Ku duty. Ku trapped underneath a wall and will not be able to escape. Another kill over to Terra Queens as the rest of the Goon Squad coming into position. You got the Dominators of the Nightmare Spawn trying to zone out and deal a little bit more information onto the rest of Terra Queens.
And so far, so good for the Terra Queens.
Ini kalau ini kenapa sendiri man? Ay,
Shieldless presence, Navilera forced to use Vengeance too.
They're trying to rush this down, but a nice little sever from Seb,
Nah.
taking 2 down. Terra Queens on the back foot, a little bit too greedy there on that T1.
Yeah, they stayed for a bit too long. Again, not really putting enough attention on scouting out the rotation from the mid side. The 2-man blade surge from Sev set that up perfectly and melted them down so fast.
Quick little lane swap, Yippee, a Raging Sandstorm already used up by Arena. I think that was supposed to be a cancel though, but I think, oh man, that was
oh
a
man.
little bit of a tough position. Blazing Duet just used to clear out that lane. Yippee knows that Arena doesn't have that ultimate, so won't be able to join in the team fight just as of yet. The turtle getting pulled back, getting that reset. Ku keeping the rest of Onic busy. Sakoshi coming down. It's going to be a 5-man fight, but they're going to ditch that turtle for now. Keeping control and getting that pressure onto the mid wave.
This first turtle, the second turtle, going to be once again contested. Rui so far has proven that her excellence in being able to secure the retreat battles still does have the EXP lead despite conceding a death earlier on. That is the farm speed of Yi Sun Shin. Ku can be okay, but loses out the Revitalize to the flank from the mid lane. I think Terra Queens does need to mind their angles a little bit better. They should be diving further with a Khalid Hilda.
There's the power of Yi Sun Shin. Rui's already level 8, just waiting for the right time to get that. She still
Again!
from underneath the noses, off the porch finds Zap, too deep in, but won't be able to secure that kill. Ku takes one down, Pooh follows Rui as well.
Thank you Sangkadi Kakaparu for the like.
Three-man punish onto Navilera.
No, Navilera. Oh.
Escape from the lanterns of Luna Lin.
It ends up being a pretty good trade for Terra Queens, but it would have been even better if they actually got that last hit on Zev as well. It would have been 1-for-3 trade and the turtle. But because that one does end up being the Yi Sun Shin, Rui is unfortunately getting the short end of the stick a little bit. Still though, out farming Zev at this point. Terra Queens are in their comfort zone. Having this Hilda and Khalid allows them to just run their bodies at their opponents in these first few stages. Looking at the itemization right now, there is a Sky Piercer on the side of Luna Lin, and it looks like Rui might be building one too. Yeah, Rui gonna complete the Sky Pierces. Sikoshi also going for a more utility 1-1 build with the
Udah mau
Windtalker and
ngepung
Rose Gold.
Yipi kayaknya ya,
Focus on
gak mau dia jadi.
survivability in the early game.
Ipo juga, oh
Interesting,
mau
usually you
please.
just have that corrosive side, but here comes the rest of Terra Queens trying to block out the advances from Nevalera, trying to give some space over
Oh.
the back line. You got a fist crack on.
Oh.
She will not escape the clutches of Sakoshi. Sakoshi takes on Pooh. You got the rest of the Terra Queens trying to gun down.
Aduh, ke outplay, Cok.
Goes down. Rui takes one out as well. Two members fall for the side of Onic as Terra Queens. They come back on top again. 3,500 goal lead.
That is a
Guys, come on.
from Terra Queens right now. You can see that this lineup was drafted with a particular purpose. And if we look at the highlights once again, they are causing havoc. Who got picked up very early on, but you can see that Onic may have committed too many resources. And a really nice jump in the backline with a flicker raging sandstorm from playing Rina. Instantly stopped their engagement and forced them back, leaving
Gue baru ngeh guys, kamera gue dari tadi gak on men. Astaga, my bad.
This is still pretty much in the receiving into the mid game.
Dari tadi ngomong sendiri dong gue.
Which Sakoshi trapped into 4. We got a crossbow 10. She's surrounded. Buying some time for the Terra Queens to come in. Sakoshi is still up safe. They're pushing it in underneath the turret. They're keeping it disciplined. Arena back on duty, but the mid lane is in shambles. Rue's taking care of that one.
Poe definitely jumped the gun there. It was a good catch with the flicker fist break, but your team is not close enough to whittle down the 1-1. And remember, this is a hero that has a built-in purify. So once Sikoshi jumps out of that, picks up the crossbow,
Gila banget, cepet banget regennya penuh.
team isn't going to be able to do anything. It needed to be a tighter formation. It was not worth it for the Badang to try and force that situation.
What was the turning point? What was the turning point where Onic was kind of head to head with Terra Queens, but right now Terra Queens are standing on top of a mountain with 4,500 gold.
It was around the second turtle, maybe a little bit before the second turtle, because the first one was fairly 50-50. Rui has been very effective.
Gimana dong?
17.
3-level difference between junglers. I mean, that's already a clear sign. And Rui was the first death.
Arena with the Raging Sandstorm. Vengeance already gone. Crucial resources gone from Onic. Terra Queens taking control of all the jungles. No more T1s. They're dealing with that T2 down the bot side. This guy trying to push everyone away.
Shit.
And a lot of damage from Rui. They're taking out
Massive.
everyone out of falls. As Terra Queens are inflicting fear onto the hearts of Porcupine once again.
The beautiful mountain shocker from Rui. This
Oh guys, come on guys, you guys still can do it. Hello.
What about here? Such a good way for them to engage, catching out two squishies, chasing Onic back, cutting off their escape. Terra Queens are playing this perfectly. This is the definition of controlled chaos, and the goal.
Oi, kameranya rusak kah? Kayak gak jalan gitu.
Onic, their chance of jumping back into this game is slimming.
There's one more hit.
Oh!
All the way in, the arrow strikes her heart and takes her down. Zab is nowhere to be found. The Lord comes up. Terra Queens making a beeline for it. They will blitz this down.
The Sky Piercer.
Kayak kameranya rusak lagi deh.
Coming in from Rui, but it is working out. There's a 2K difference between her and Zev. And that is from the first blood being given over. This Lord is now free. Terra Queens in full control of the map. And normally when you go Hilda Khalid, you are risking a potential outscaling in the mid-game, but their success so far has bought them so much more time. It's going to take ages for Onic to actually reach the point where they can actually outscale these very oppressive divers.
Aduh, elah.
Yippee was playing aggressively against the 1-1. Always in her face, always using those shots and taking those damage down, but now Sakoshi's eating all of that up because she has the healing potential from the House Claws, from the lifesteal effect. Look at the bot side, Zev taking a ton of damage, and Terra Queens are keeping them busy. You got a pepper spray from Luna Lin trying to zone everyone out of the way. Sakoshi's damage is starting to show. Rui's damage is also starting to hurt. You get a lower margin down on the mid side. Crew taking a lot of damage. There's a fist crack onto one. Crew will fall. Yippee will take that down. Rui takes down another one. It's a double kill. Rui. It's on a triple. They're looking for the drone.
Okay.
Rui gets out safe. It's not
Still safe enough. Olo.
Onic still has that defense, but it's a 2-on-4. They have another way pushing in.
Are they about to do it right now? The crystal is open. They have
Ora!
Again! Terra Queens! Rewrite the script! 4th place guaranteed for the Barbies Queens!
If they weren't the dark horses before, they surely are now. Another titan, another potential champion of the MWI has been eliminated in the first stage of the knockouts.
The momentum that the Queens has brought on the table, the emotions, they have done it. They said during interviews in previous games that they said that they wanted that top 4 spot, and right now they are in that top 4 of the world.
Cuma gara-gara game 2, Cok. Game 2 kebanyakan mistake ya, anjir. Aduh.
MWI, all expectations are now officially off the table. First, we lost Navi Philippines. Now we lose Onic Indonesia. It is a brand new era for women's MLB.
Gila sih, gacor. Dark Horse kan sih, definitely Dark Horse sih, gila.
Now on to Onic Pertiwi. We see the girls just really happy, really elated. There's nothing that I could say that could push over these emotions. And take a look at the highlights. It does look like Terra Queens have every single thing done. It was a really clean games for the Queens.
I feel like the draft coming in from Onic this game may have been picked up with a little bit too
Berarti balik dong ini.
multiple heroes grabbed specifically just to steal them away. But I think the best way to find out more is just to throw it over to Trex on the field and find out more with their interview.
Here we are.
Ente Pertiwi.
Down on the stage.
Aduh, makanya pusing, Cok. Kenapa dah? Padahal game 2 udah bagus, men.
Now, I know the loss had to be
Game 2 kebanyakan. Aduh. Game 2 udah awal-awal bagus, belakangan blunder semua, Cok.
Yes, we're trying our best, but the good thing is there's still room to improve.
So, speaking of room to improve, what is the future of the team? Where do we go from here after MWI?
We still don't know, but yeah.
Future events, maybe? Does everyone plan on staying together?
I don't know too.
We'll see. We hope so. I know all of us have loved watching you guys play.
Dah.
It's been a blast. Any words for other teams in the tournament? For the team that maybe even just defeated you? Anything you want to, give a shout out, words of hope to, other players?
Good game. Good luck. Have fun.
Okay, and anything to your fans, family, or friends at home?
Thank you for supporting us. Thank you Sonic dan semua teman-teman yang udah support kita sampai sekarang.
Thank you so much, Sev. It was a pleasure. We'll throw it back to our boys up on the desk.
Thank you very much to Trex.
Ayah.
I can't even blame Sev for not having many words to share because this was such an unexpected result. This is something that caught all of us off guard. So imagine it's even harder for Onic,
Stres,
a
anjir.
team that was expected to perform super duper well, a team that didn't drop a single game in the group stages.
Ya, men. Instantly eliminated in lama.
It's hard when you say
Kak ADC ada Dava buat cewek barunya, masa? Sumpah.
one of the fan favorites. It's hard to say goodbye to Onic Pertiwi, but it's a brand new journey. It's a brand new story for the other team at the other side of the stage. It's Trex again with the Terra Queens. Go ahead.
Sumpah.
We are here on the main stage once again with the jungler of Terra Queens. You played an amazing series.
Teror Queen sama Gaming Gladiator ngalahin 2 tim yang di SP bakal 4 besar.
For the best happy but this not what we want, not expect we 1-0 2-1 because we expect 2-0.
Okay.
We just not disciplined in first game.
So you felt confident coming into this game. Does that mean you feel confident in your future games after this? It has been confirmed that GG
Game 2 sih, harusnya tadi bisa menang. Sumpah game 2 sih. Udah lah, nggak rezeki guys. Ente mereka udah berusaha yang terbaik.
For Navi PH.
No, you'll be going up against Gaming Gladiators. Navi PH just lost 0-2 to them.
Okay. Of course. Before I wanna meet Navi PH ya, because we lost and I wanna beat them again. And now, okay lah, good luck. I plus I will win again with Gladiator.
Alright, so you feel good. You're aiming for the number 1 spot is what you're saying.
What?
Aiming for the championship, number 1 spot.
Nothing lah, just nice try.
We'll see, we'll see. Alright, anything for the teams that you've had to send home? Any words for the
pusing
girls
gua.
that you've had to beat? I feel like
Aduh, mual langsung cok,
very
mual.
close over this event. Any words for
Anjir.
yeah, gone home so far?
Anjir cok, anjir.
Thank you for support us and keep support us and beat on the champion.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for the interview. We will see you guys tomorrow. Send it back up to the boys.
Terbalik cok.
Even Rui of the Terra Queens could not believe what transpired while their best of 3 occurred. Congratulations once more to the Burmese squad. Their reign continues as they take down Onic. This was
Ente guys.
breaking down game number 2. We did
Nice try,
not
nice try,
give
nice try.
Marina her flowers, but now I think it's safe to say her performance.
Ente Onic, ente, nice run guys, nice try.
Yippee off.
I am shocked and I am surprised that Arena was 3-0-6.
She never
I was so busy with looking at the other members of the team and I thought like Arena was having that.
Yaudah guys, aku tutup live hari ini dengan
She was just playing
kekalahan guys. Nice try Onic Pertiwi. They've done so great despite the lose. Ya mungkin belum rezeki aja. Berarti kita bakalan see you guys di stream minggu depan yang cowok-cowok nih, oke? Pokoknya kita dukung terus mereka, semoga yang cowok-cowok juara, oke? Thank you for watching and see you on the next stream. Bye bye.